Welcome to episode 20 of Blackhawks Banter, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. Our weekly show drops across multiple platforms, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and follow our Twitter to stay connected and in the know. You can find our work on the Blackhawks page at thehockeywriters.com, and we welcome you to follow each of us on Twitter to talk all things Hawks too. You can find our handles under our name on this video. Joining me for this episode is Gail Kauchak, Brooke LoFurno, and Greg Boysen. I'd ask how you're all doing, but I think it's safe to assume we're collectively a little less than enthusiastic about this team at the moment. So with that said, let's get right into it. We will start off a little more positive. We're going to talk last week's results and the star of the week. Having lost 6 of their past 7, it's an understatement to say that this Blackhawks are struggling as of late. 3 of those defeats came after we last met for this show. They fell to the Florida Panthers 6-3 on Monday, and then to the Tampa Bay Lightning, got the better of them 4-2 on Thursday and 4-1 on Saturday. Again, doing our part to keep things a little more positive, we do publish that Star of the Week article every Monday to highlight who stood out and for the right reasons. Brooke had her piece published earlier today, so I'm going to give her the floor to tell us who she picked and why. Brooke?
Okay, so since this is our therapy venting session, I'm going to be honest, when I was writing that, I was getting mad because this past week has been really bad, and I was like, I feel like everyone is kind of slumping, and it was hard to, but you know what, so I kind of took a different spin and said, you know what, there was a positive thing that happened on Thursday, which was he scored on the power play against Tampa in the first period, which was kind of nice to get off to a quick start, even though we lost. So I said Matthias Janmark because he scored that goal, and he's actually been pretty good on the power play. I think 40% of his goals this year have come on the power play, so... And plus, he is a noticeable player usually in every game. He's been like a very good welcome surprise, I think, for us. I don't think we expect him to be as impactful as he has. So I picked him, and I think their special team should get back on track soon enough, but I think he'll be a big reason why. If we don't trade him at the deadline, hopefully not. But yeah, I'd say he's my star of the week, and we'll just keep it at that, I guess.
I mean, well said. It was a rough week, but Janmark has done a good job of making us all a fan. I think that's safe to say. He's noticeable every night for mostly for the right reasons. So I'd say that's a good pick. For the rest of us, even as Chicago appears to be doing a lot of things wrong, I wanted to give us all a chance to lift the mood for this fan base. So let's each say one good thing we witnessed, if you can think of one, through their 3 losses last week. Gail, we're going to start with you on that.
Okay, I have a couple bullet points, but they're just bullet points, so I'll be brief, okay? First off, I really like what Dominik Kubalik and Brandon Hagel have been doing together. I think that they're on the cusp of really breaking out. I think that they're building out their chemistry, and I'm excited about that. Something to note also is that not Kubalik, but Hagel was on the top power play unit this past Saturday. So that's interesting to see if that'll happen again. And we should also mention that Strome is back. And even though he started on the third line, he ended up centering the first line with Kane and DeBrincat. So I'm interested to see where he's going to slot in the future. So those are my things I'm kind of excited about.
Yeah, fair. Good things to notice for sure. Greg, did you find as many positives, or did you struggle to find one?
There were a couple. Gail mentioned Kubalik. He had a good week. He had an assist in all 3 games. I think they were all primary assists, if I remember correctly. I know at least 2 of them were. So that's good. He's a guy known for scoring goals, but it's nice to see him setting up some as well, become a little bit more of a playmaker. So that's always good to see. I wish you get more ice time still. We're having this conversation, but, you know. And then just not to sound like a broken record, but I'm still very it was nice to see Adam Boqvist have another good week. It was kind of funny. Beginning of the year, we were all like, oh, he's going to get paired with Zadorov, so Zadorov can kind of shelter him and protect him. And now they've kind of flipped roles where now Boqvist is the guy making the defensive plays while Zadorov is off being something besides a defenseman. So those are my 2 guys that stuck out. So we'll just leave it at that. We're being positive right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, obviously this team struggled collectively, but some of the names you guys all mentioned, it's nice to see them still putting in the work, and they're still noticeable. And again, although they're not doing well on the score sheet, unfortunately, when it all is said and done, some of these guys are still putting in good efforts, and we can see that. So that's positive. My one that I'll say is this can be spun a couple different ways, but I thought it was kind of a cool thing to notice. Although they didn't score a lot of goals last week, every goal that this team did score was actually from a different player, which is nice to see, as it suggests they're spreading out the production, and that bodes well for a more complete team effort. So again, I know you can argue that and spin that a few different ways, but for me, it was just nice to see that it wasn't just Kane and DeBrincat who got them all. We see that these guys are all kind of contributing, so that was nice to see. Let's talk taxi squad. We've seen a number of players be moved to and from Chicago's taxi squad this season. Sometimes it's simply been a matter of roster logistics. Yet in other cases, this has proven invaluable for this team and those prospects, such as with Lankinen and Kurashev, who quickly became regulars after being left out of the opening night lineup, if you can believe that. On Sunday, Chicago announced that Hakkarainen, Peary, Regula, and Quenneville have made their way from Rockford to the taxi squad. Which of the four would you want to see find their way into game action this time around? Gail, do you think this lineup would benefit from any of these additions?
Starting with me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm probably supposed to say Alec Regula here because he's a promising prospect and he hasn't seen any time yet, but I'm going to take a different direction. I'm going to go completely against the youth movement, completely against everything that we've been saying. And I'm going to pick that I'd like to see Brandon Peary in the lineup. He has only played in one Blackhawks game. I think it was either the first or the second game, and 2 IceHawks games. The rest of the time he's been on the taxi squad. And as an almost 30-year-old, well, anybody sitting on the taxi squad, it's got to be rough to not be able to play. Greg and I talked about this a little bit the other day, so I hope I'm not stealing your answer. But I'd like to see him get in. I think that he might be able to even, you got Walmart and Highmore that aren't really doing much there, so maybe he could give a spark to the offense. So that's my choice.
Fair enough, makes sense. Greg, did Gail steal your answer?
Kind of, sort of, but that's happens at least once a week, so we're all good. I think this move was made more to get the guys that were on the taxi squad some playing time in Rockford than necessarily getting the guys going the other way in a game in Chicago, because all 5 of those guys that went down all played last night for the IceHogs and are probably going to play again tonight. They're playing right after we're done recording this. But if you had to put one of those guys in, I would pick Peary as well, just for the fact that the offense is struggling right now. The guy scores goals. That's pretty much all he does, but get him. He's been a good soldier this year. Get him a couple games. Hakkarainen and Regula are interesting prospects, but neither of those guys are ready for an NHL game at this point. And Quenneville, he's an AHL guy. We saw a little bit of him last year. He just doesn't have the foot speed to compete at the NHL level. So you want to give him a game because you feel he's earned it, whatever. Maybe wait till you're not tied for the last playoff spot to do that. So if any of those guys get in, I would give Peary a game just for S&Gs. I'll censor myself.
Yeah, fair enough. It was interesting to see the crop of names that went to and from, and I sort of had a similar feeling when you saw who was going where. Brooke, are you cleaning the board here? Is Peary on your list too?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest again. I wasn't really excited about any of those names that popped up. I was kind of like, okay, whatever. But also, I'm not really familiar with them either, so I can't really say. I mean, I get the Peary option because we do need an offensive spark, and like Greg said, if he's good for anything, he is good for offense, and he's probably the one person that has proven he can do that. But then my second thing was, okay, well, if we're not going to play Peary, because I don't know, it seems like he gets kind of left out a lot of the time. So I don't really know if I see him actually in this lineup. But Greg, I'm sorry, how do you say that guy's name? That Michael
Hakkarainen? Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe I'd say him for an offensive, although I know he's a rookie, so that could go either way, but I'm going with offense here. So Peary or him, I think would be fine for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I know that this is all super hypothetical because the reality and the odds are that we might not see any of these guys, but I'm going to give a little bit of love here to Regula. I just would like to see what he can do, how he'd handle this type of workload. I know Chicago's blue line is busy, but from the get-go, even before we started seeing their success, I wanted this to be a year where their defensive development took a lead. I know we expected their whole lineup to do that, but I wanted to see a little bit more of that defensive side and these young kids like the Boqvist, et cetera. I wanted to see them sort of elevate and see how that was going to be a foundation for this team. So I'm just always interested to see the kids get more time. And it helps to see what they can do to give them a taste of that kind of action. So there's no harm in changing things up when they're not going well. Obviously, they haven't been lately, so I'd like to see Regula get into the lineup here. Speaking of things not going well, let's talk a little bit about the Florida Panthers, unfortunately. Chicago is now 0-3-1 against the Panthers. The Blackhawks have allowed 20 goals against in that span, scoring only 11 of their own. They also gave up leads in 3 of those contests. They have 4 more games against the Panthers this season and can't afford to keep losing out on points, especially when it's their game to win. Clearly, whatever head coach Jeremy Colleton has preached hasn't gone as planned against the Panthers. So here's your chance to speak for him. Here's the scenario. You're heading into the 3rd period of their next meeting. The Blackhawks are up by a goal. You're asked to give the team one piece of coaching advice to help close out the victory. What do you say? Greg, the locker room has your attention. Go for it.
This is going to be good.
I'll just start with a disclaimer that I will not speak like a true hockey coach. There will be no F-bombs. But listen, hey, we got a lead here. It's the 3rd period. We've got to keep doing what we did to get here. Let's not fall into a passive dump and chase kind of game and just hope the clock runs out. We've done that too many times this year. No defensive shells, no prevent defense. Stay aggressive, keep the feet moving, draw some penalties. Hey, at the very least, if we don't score on the power play to get an extra goal, we're keeping their top lines on the bench so they can't score against us. So just let's keep doing what we've done to get this lead and don't fall into those traps that we've been caught in too many times.
Brooke, floor is yours. Keep us pumped up here.
So mine is cheesy, but like Greg said, I'm not an NHL coach, but I'll try my best. So I just said, go out there and have fun. If you're not doing that, the game is usually reflects that. There was a very good stretch where things were clicking and it was fun. So let loose and enjoy the process and see where that takes us.
Short and sweet. Gail, keep things positive. What are you saying?
All right, guys. We believed in ourselves at the beginning of the year when no one else did. We came out of the gate this season and did really well. We've grown, we've improved. We're right there with all these teams. And that's because we embraced playing hard. We embraced being relentless. We embraced wanting it more than them. Now we're in a rough patch, but we're gaining resiliency from this adversity. Tonight, we're in this game and we're winning this game. If we can keep playing the right way, it's going to turn around and we're going to start winning. Now let's go out and make that winning start tonight.
Well said. You guys have covered all the bases, but I would jump in and say whatever we've done to this point in this game today has clearly worked. We're up a goal and the win is in our hands. So why change a thing? Keep playing the way you have and let's do exactly what's proven effective. We've worked hard to prepare for these moments, so execution should be the easy part. No need to overcomplicate the strategy. Simply trust your instincts. We know we're beyond just good enough as the scoreboard is showing us that as we speak. Time to prove it. So let's wrap up our win and move on to the next one. Well done, team.
All right.
He could be the new Herb Brooks or whatever.
To our viewers, we appreciate you sticking around to enjoy our show. Hopefully that little break there pumped you guys up to watch the rest of it. Just a friendly reminder to follow us across social and be sure to check out thehockeywriters.com to catch all of our Blackhawks content. Unfortunately, dipping things back to a little bit of a negative storyline, although there's some positives that surround it, let's talk a little bit about Kevin Lankinen. From what was a rookie of the year caliber start, to his season, Kevin Lankinen's play has come back down to earth through his recent slump. He's 1-4-1 in his past 6, allowing 22 goals for a save percentage of .887. That's well below the standard that he set when he was helping Chicago achieve the success they were just mere weeks ago. Which begs the question, is his hot start simply that, or is it the norm that will return following a larger sample size of games? Do you fear that Lankinen's current level of play is what fans should expect the rest of the way through 2020-21? Or are you confident that he'll get back to putting up those elite numbers? Brooke, are Lankinen's superstar days done, or will he get back to form?
I think this is kind of what we should expect from him. He's young, he's growing, he's new. This is going to happen. And I think all goalies in the league go through hot stretches. And it was nice for him that he got that early on. But now I think this is kind of him coming really back down to earth. I think it's unfair to think that he could be like Marc-Andre Fleury throughout the whole season for his first year. I just think that's unrealistic. But I think he is a good goalie. I think that's what we should expect. But I don't think we should expect superstar status. So I think good for him is good enough for where he's at right now and good enough for us.
Okay, fair enough. Gail, is this what we should be seeing more of, or will he turn back and improve?
Well, first off, you just had to know with Shaun leading the discussion that we were going to have a question about goaltenders, huh?
Every single time.
All right, I think with Lankinen, it's a little bit of both here. The opposing teams have studied him, so they kind of know what they've studied him. They know what to look for. But then again, he studied the opposing team. So, but like Brooke said, he's young and he's new to all this, and he's still growing. But what he does have going for him is that he's got the fundamental game, and he's really, really confident. And those are two things that I think are really going to help him to. I think that we're going to see a trend, and it's going to turn around, and I think he's going to pull out of this bit of a slump that he's in. He's going to go through his ebbs and flows, but I think he's headed towards a ebb.
Yeah, safe to say, and that's what we all hope. Giving Greg the credit he deserves for calling out the fact that Lankinen was able to do what he did do and what we saw him do at the beginning of the season. Greg, what do you think? Is he going to get back to that kind of play?
I don't think he's as great as we first saw him, but I don't think he's nearly as bad as where he's been. Not that he's been bad, but he's not as, he's somewhere in the middle. The real Kevin Lankinen is somewhere in the middle of that. Holy crap, this guy's really good, and what the heck is he doing guy. So, as Gail alluded to a little bit there, he came on the scene. There really wasn't a whole lot out on him. The league has made their adjustments. Now it's time for him to readjust and come up with something to, they've possibly found weaknesses. So he's got to readjust there as well. I think he's still going to be a really good goaltender down the road, just based on his work ethic and his desire to be the best he could possibly be. I don't have many doubts. I mean, if you heard about what he talked about when they were in the bubble last year, he wasn't playing. He was just a Texan. He watched every single game, not just the Hawks games, but every game while they were in Edmonton, and just watched each goaltender and tried to learn the little things, what they did in warmups, what they did in between whistles, things like that, just to make so he can embody an NHL goaltender. For someone to take that initiative on his own tells me that he definitely wants it. I'm not super worried right now. I mean, yes, it could be better, but it could also be worse.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He definitely comes across as a student of the game, which is great. It's great for him. It's great for the Hawks. To me, what Lankinen was able to accomplish to kickstart his career was clearly incredible. Not only was he putting up elite numbers as a rookie, but he was doing so on, let's face it, a rebuilding team. We all enjoyed the ride, but it made sense to see him slow down. I think we've all come to terms with that fact. I didn't expect to see his numbers drop this far, though. The only thing to sort of call out in that respect is that the whole team has been faltering. It's not just Lankinen or Subban for that matter. So I do suspect Lankinen is going to find a way to trend upwards again. We've seen what he's capable of and how good he can be. So as the team improves, so will his numbers. I'm really not worried about Lankinen. He'll be just fine over a larger sample size. And to be honest, what excites me most about him is having seen the top level of what he can do as young and as early in his career as he's done. That just bodes a lot of confidence in me as a fan to realize that if that's what he's capable of, I'm excited to see what he can do when the pressure's really on and when he develops a little bit more. So he's going to be just fine. If we have any gamers that watch or listen or read any of our work, this one's for you. So what I want to do is create a little bit of a cheat code as though these guys are in a video game, because they need all the help they can get. And if we can give it to them, then let's do that. While it's clear that parts of Chicago's game exceeded well beyond expectation through the first half of the year, some aspects have leveled off as they've entered their midseason stretch. From having climbed into a playoff spot to now seeing at risk as the teams around them find success they've lost of late. This is cause for concern as far as what we expect the rest of the way. Taking into account what matters most to team results, specifically what you feel would allow for the greatest benefit to the Blackhawks, here's your chance to set an advantage in their favor. Choose one of the scenarios below, assuming it would then mean it's a guarantee throughout the remainder of the 2020-21 schedule and tell us why that's the route you take. Here's your 5 options. Number 1, their power play improves to 40%. Number 2, their penalty kill maintains at 90%. Number 3, their goals against average is at 2.5 or lower. Number 4, they win whenever extra time is required. Or number 5, every game remaining in their schedule is at the United Center. Gail, which cheat code are you selecting and why?
Okay, well, first off, I was kind of hoping for a couple different options, like playing better 5-on-5 or better face-offs. But
I didn't want to make it easy.
With these options, and I read the preview post, so I know that everybody else chose. Well, I guess I shouldn't give it away. All right, I chose the 90% of the penalty kill, and my thought process behind that was that this team is young. They're still learning, and as that happens, that's when penalties happen, when they're trying to keep up with better players and players that are more experienced. And I just feel like if they had the confidence to know that they were going to be able to kill most of their penalties, then they would be able to let loose a little bit more. They would be able to be more aggressive and more confident, and I think that would just help lead towards this relentless mentality that they're working towards. So that's why I went with that route.
Yeah, fair. Well said. Good rationale. Greg?
First, if we wanted the Blackhawks to be good at 5-on-5 on face-off, those are miracles, not cheat codes. Totally different subject. Yeah.
All right.
Those we need a Bible, not a cheat code for those. I chose the goals against average at 2.5. Just because, when you have confidence in your goalie, if you only need 3 goals to win every night, you can play differently. We saw it earlier this year. We saw it through all those cup runs. When you've got that guy between the pipes that's going to have your back, then you could play a little looser, a little more aggressive offensively, because if you get caught out of position, there's a brick wall back there to bail you out, and you just have to buy a mistake dinner after the game. So we saw it earlier this year, and I think now that the goaltending's struggling a little bit, guys are playing tighter. They're trying not to make mistakes, and usually when you're thinking about not making mistake is usually when you make a mistake. So I definitely would go for the lowest GAA possible.
Yeah, it makes sense. The ripple effect from the back forward can be quite drastic, as we're seeing. Brooke, which one are you picking?
Yeah, I picked that one too. I think my kind of rationale was that I think we rank 20th right now in the league in our goals against average, and honestly, it shows. So I feel like part of our issue is, keeping pucks out of that. It has been for a little bit now. So I feel like if they could at least get that down a little bit, then they they put themselves in a good position to win, even if the goaltender is struggling a little bit. So I feel like it kind of starts there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a little more strategic if you know that you're covered on that end. Gail, although I'm happy you went a different route, I expected that we would have had a couple different answers, but obviously 3 of us did go with the goals against average of 2.50 because that's my answer as well. This team has the ability to score goals. Even through downturns in production, they're still at 2.9 goals per game. They've actually scored 3 or more in 17 contests so far this year. However, they went on to lose 7 of those games. They only earned 2 points throughout those 7 losses. Had they let in 2.5 or less, that's 12 more points they'd have at this point in the season. That would put them in a battle for second in the division, as opposed to clinging for that last playoff spot. So hard to argue with everything you guys have all said. Greg and Brooke specifically for us sharing the answer, but Gail, great thoughts as well, because obviously you want to be strong on the penalty kill too. So good answers all around. Hopefully, wishfully, we could do this from our end of things, but all we can really do is talk about it. And speaking of talking about it, let's predict the week ahead. Chicago has a busy schedule with 4 games in a 6-night span between Tuesday and Sunday. First, they'll face the Panthers on Tuesday and Thursday. Then Nashville heads to town for a back-to-back on the upcoming weekend. The Hawks have yet to beat either team this season, so earning any number of victories this week would suggest progress. Let's keep this prediction pretty straightforward. With 8 points up for grabs, how many will the Blackhawks earn? Greg, how will the Hawks do throughout the week?
It's so tough right now. They need something. They need some of that swagger back or whatever goals. anything. Get to overtime. They haven't been getting the overtime. That's where they got a lot of those early season points, and all the teams behind them are playing in overtime every night. That's why that gap has been closed. You got to figure out a way to get some points, especially in that Predators series. That's a huge series now. They're just 4 points behind the Blackhawks. So 8 points up for grabs. Take 3, and then we'll go from there. Till they beat the Panthers, I'm just going to assume they lose.
That's an improvement on last week. Brooke, how are they going to be doing by the end of it?
Yeah, I would say 3 or 4. I mean, okay, so I know that like me and your prediction was wrong last time when we were like, oh, we think we're going to pull out a win against Florida, but I really have a hard time believing they can pull out 8 like straight. I don't know. That just seems kind of ridiculous to me. They might though. I think they might be able to do it, but I don't know. It just seems kind of too far-fetched. So I think we have to get 1 win somewhere in there, even if it's just 1 win. So I kind of think that in Nashville, I mean, they stink, to be honest, but we always have a hard time against them. So like you said, it's kind of hard, but yeah, I would think 3 or 4 would be I still see a lot of losses.
Yeah, you hit on that. Nashville does stink, and unfortunately, both Brooke, you and I, at the beginning of the season, looked at Florida and didn't see much there, but they've obviously proven us wrong.
Yes.
Gail, how many points are the Hawks getting out of the 8 available this week?
Half of them, 4.
Straight and to the point, getting 4, and you know what? I'm going to agree with you.
I hope I'm right.
I hope we're both right, because I'm also going to say they're getting 4, and I'm going to double down here and say that they will beat Florida. So 2 of those points are going to come against Florida, and 2 will come against Nashville to finally beat both of these teams. Brooke, I couldn't have said it any better. Nashville stinks. I don't know how we haven't done it yet. However, they've only played 2 games against them, so they will get one against
Bibles.
They will get
everyone. We got to bring our Bibles.
Getting 1 against each will mean that they are no longer undefeated against these Blackhawks, and that's not where we want anyone else to be in this division. Well, that does it for another episode of Blackhawks Banter. We appreciate you tuning in, and thank you to Gail, Brooke, and Greg for joining me for the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and follow us on Twitter. You can find our work at thehockeywriters.com, and we encourage you to connect with each of us across social as well. Enjoy your week full of Blackhawks hockey, and we'll see you again for episode 21. Take care, folks.
Bye.